Awareness is the first step in controlling your thoughts because it allows you to take an honest look at what's happening in your mind without immediate judgment. So often we operate on autopilot, letting our thoughts race, jump, or spiral into directions that can drain our energy and affect our mood, focus, and overall outlook on life. When we become aware of these thoughts, both positive and negative, we gain insight into our mental habits and patterns that have perhaps remained hidden or overlooked. Awareness shines a light on the inner dialogue that shapes how we perceive ourselves and the world around us, which can be empowering because it's the point at which we finally see what's really influencing us. I think of it like tuning into a radio station. You've been hearing background music or chatter, but you haven't truly listened to what's being said or how it's affecting your day. Awareness is when you finally stop and actively listen, paying attention to the language, tone, and themes that dominate your mind. Is it helpful? Is it kind? Is it aligned with your values, goals, and aspirations? This recognition requires slowing down, pausing the automatic reactions, and observing with a curious and open mind. We don't rush to change or fix anything at this stage. We're simply learning about the thoughts that show up when we're stressed, tired, inspired, or challenged. Building awareness can be challenging, especially since many thoughts can be uncomfortable or even painful. But every time we recognize and acknowledge these thoughts, we become less subject to their influence. We start to see patterns, maybe a habit of doubt before trying something new, a tendency to worry excessively, or a reoccurring self-criticism. Awareness helps us separate ourselves from the stream of thoughts, allowing us to recognize that we are not our thoughts, but the ones experiencing them. This gives us the distance we need to choose our responses, rather than reacting impulsively or emotionally. By observing these patterns and themes over time, we begin to understand our triggers and can start to see when a thought pattern is pulling us in a direction we don't want to go. To practice awareness effectively, we can engage in mindfulness techniques like meditation, journaling, or simply checking in with ourselves during the day to ask, what's on my mind? Challenging and reframing your thoughts is a process of taking control of the narrative in your mind, transforming limiting beliefs into empowering perspectives that serve you. It begins with a willingness to question the validity of thoughts that don't align with your goals or values. So often we accept our thoughts as truth simply because they're familiar or repetitive, but just because we think something doesn't mean it's accurate or beneficial. Many of our thoughts are influenced by past experiences, societal expectations, or fears that no longer serve us, yet they continue to shape our mindset in ways that can hold us back. When we challenge these thoughts, we ask ourselves questions that force us to examine them critically. Is this thought fact or assumption? What evidence do I have that supports or refutes this belief? For example, when faced with a thought like, I'm not good enough, a challenging response might be, is this true, or am I just feeling insecure because I'm trying something new? This inquiry breaks the automatic acceptance of negative self-talk and invites us to view our thoughts from a more rational, detached perspective. Challenging thoughts isn't about dismissing them outright, it's about creating space for exploration, where we can recognize how our own mindset can work against us and take steps to redirect it. Once we've questioned a thought and acknowledged its limitations, we can then begin to reframe it, which is the process of replacing it with a more constructive, supportive version. Reframing doesn't mean simply flipping a negative into a positive without thought. It's about finding a more balanced, realistic perspective that empowers us to act, rather than paralyzing us. For example, if the thought is, I always fail, reframing could look like, I'm learning from every experience and each setback is bringing me closer to success. This doesn't deny that failures happen, rather, it shifts the focus from self-blame to growth and progress. Reframing allows us to take ownership of our inner dialogue by transforming it into something that aligns with our values and goals. It shifts us from a victim mindset, where we feel at the mercy of our thoughts, to an empowered mindset, where we guide our thoughts towards solutions, resilience, and self-belief. This shift has a cumulative effect. The more we practice challenging and reframing, the more our mind starts to adopt these patterns as natural responses. Over time, we become less affected by self-doubt, less likely to spiral into negative thinking, and more inclined to face challenges with a growth-oriented mindset. Challenging and reframing isn't always easy, especially when dealing with deeply ingrained beliefs that have been with us for years. However, each time we successfully challenge a limiting belief and replace it with a thought that serves us, we weaken the hold of negative patterns and strengthen our capacity for positive, intentional thinking. Directing your focus intentionally is about choosing where to place your mental energy rather than allowing it to be scattered across every distraction, worry, or passing impulse. In a world overflowing with information, competing demands, and unexpected challenges, this skill is critical to maintaining a steady course toward our goals. Focus is a limited resource, and when it's not used deliberately, we end up reacting to our environment rather than proactively shaping it. By directing our focus, we give ourselves the ability to determine what matters most in each moment, aligning our actions with our values and priorities rather than getting lost in the noise around us. Intentional focus begins with clarity, a clear understanding of what we want to achieve or experience, whether that's in the next hour, day, or year. This clarity serves as a compass, keeping us on track and allowing us to cut through distractions more easily. For example, if our goal is to improve a skill, we can direct our focus to the tasks that directly contribute to that growth, rather than becoming sidetracked by other pursuits or worrying about outcomes beyond our control. When we know our purpose, we can actively choose what deserves our attention and what can be put aside, even if only temporarily. This clarity of intention frees up mental energy and directs it toward meaningful action. Setting an intention for focus is a powerful daily practice that helps us stay grounded and connected to our larger goals. In the morning, simply taking a few minutes to reflect on what we want to prioritize can act as. Harnessing visualization as a training tool is a powerful way to prepare the mind for success and achievement. Visualization at its core is the practice of creating vivid mental images of desired outcomes, scenarios, or goals as if they were already happening. This technique has been widely used by athletes, performers, entrepreneurs, and individuals from all walks of life because it leverages the brain's natural ability to imagine and simulate experiences. The mind can't always distinguish between real and vividly imagined experiences, which makes visualization a highly effective tool for conditioning both mental and physical responses before we ever take action in the real world. Visualization is not just daydreaming, it's a purposeful and strategic mental exercise. When done with intention, it activates the brain's neural pathways associated with performing specific tasks, so that when we encounter similar situations in reality, our minds and bodies are already prepared. This is why athletes will often visualize themselves performing flawlessly in a game, feeling every movement and sensing each detail, from the sound of the crowd to the pressure of their feet against the ground. By repeatedly seeing themselves succeed, they are essentially training their brains to expect that outcome, increasing confidence and reducing perceived performance anxiety. The effectiveness of visualization lies in its specificity and sensory detail. To use visualization as a training tool, it's important to engage all the senses and to imagine not just the outcome, but also the process and the effort it will take to get there. For instance, if you're visualizing yourself giving a successful presentation, don't just see yourself at the end receiving applause. Imagine yourself stepping up to the podium, feeling composed, speaking with clarity, and connecting with the audience. Picture the room, hear the sound of your voice, and feel the calm confidence in your body. By mentally rehearsing these details, you're creating a blueprint that your brain can refer to in real time, allowing you to feel prepared and grounded when the moment arrives. Visualization is also a powerful tool for overcoming obstacles and setbacks because it allows us to mentally prepare for challenges before they arise. When we visualize potential hurdles and see ourselves successfully navigating them, we're less likely to be thrown off course when they appear in reality. This process builds resilience and problem-solving skills by helping us practice the attitudes and actions we want to embody. For example, if we're working toward a goal that requires patience and perseverance, we can visualize ourselves handling moments of frustration with calm determination. By rehearsing our responses, we prime ourselves to act confidently even when we face unexpected difficulties. This tool also works well for developing self-belief and motivation. When we repeatedly see ourselves achieving our goals, the mind starts to adopt these images as a part of our identity, which strengthens our motivation to take real-world actions aligned with our visualized outcomes. For people who struggle with self-doubt, visualization can be a way to bypass that inner critic, focusing instead on what's possible and training the mind to expect positive results. The repetition of positive images and scenarios creates a mental library of success that our minds can draw upon, giving us a sense of familiarity and confidence when approaching real-life situations. Additionally, visualization helps us stay connected to our goals on a deep emotional level. By picturing our desired outcomes vividly, we bring our dreams closer to reality, bridging the gap between what's in our minds and what we can create in our lives. This deep emotional engagement makes it more likely that we'll persevere in the face of challenges, as we've already invested ourselves mentally and emotionally in the vision. We begin to feel that our dreams are attainable, and this feeling fuels our daily actions, keeping us aligned with the path toward our goals. Visualization then is not just a tool for imagining success, but for creating it, making it an indispensable practice in personal growth and achievement. Embracing that you are not your thoughts is a profound shift in self-awareness that allows you to break free from the limitations imposed by unhelpful or self-defeating thinking patterns. Many people live their lives believing that every thought that arises in their mind is a reflection of their identity, their value, or their potential. But thoughts are not absolute truths, they are fleeting mental events, often influenced by past experiences, current mood, societal conditioning, or even random impulses. By realizing that we are the observers of our thoughts rather than the thoughts themselves, we gain a significant level of freedom and control over how we respond to them. This understanding creates space for choice, allowing us to engage with thoughts that empower us while distancing ourselves from those that don't. When we believe we are our thoughts, we tend to internalize every passing idea, assumption, or judgment, which can lead to unnecessary suffering and self-criticism. For example, when a thought arises like, "I'm not good enough," it's easy to take that thought as an absolute truth, feeling as though it reflects something fundamentally flawed about us. However, by separating ourselves from the thought, we can look at it objectively, understanding that it's simply a thought, not a fact. This objectivity gives us a chance to question its validity, see where it might have come from, and ultimately decide whether or not to believe it. Through this process, we start to see thoughts as weather patterns moving through our minds. They appear, change, and dissipate without altering our fundamental essence. This separation from our thoughts is a key principle in mindfulness and meditation practices, where the aim is to observe the mind without attachment or judgment. When we practice observing our thoughts as if we were watching clouds pass in the sky, we cultivate a sense of detachment that allows us to experience our inner world without getting pulled into every mental story or narrative. We start to recognize patterns in our thinking, noting when certain triggers consistently lead to particular thoughts, or when specific situations spark specific doubts or fears. This awareness helps us to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively, choosing actions that are aligned with our values rather than with fleeting emotions or assumptions. By embracing that we are not our thoughts, we also open the door to greater self-compassion and acceptance. We realize that everyone has self-doubt, worry, or fear at times, and that having these thoughts doesn't make us weak or unworthy. Rather than judging ourselves for thinking a certain way, we can acknowledge the thought and let it go without adding unnecessary emotional weight to it. This process not only frees us from the grip of negative thinking, but also allows us to direct our mental energy toward thoughts and actions that genuinely serve our well-being. By learning to see our thoughts with detachment, we reduce their power to dictate our emotions and actions, fostering a greater sense of inner peace and stability. This detachment is particularly helpful in stressful situations where strong emotions and negative thoughts often arise. Instead of being swept away by these reactions, we can pause, observe what's happening in our minds, and choose how to respond. For instance, if a thought arises like, "I can't handle this," instead of internalizing it as truth, we can step back, observe the thought, and remind ourselves that it's only a temporary response to a challenging situation. This distance from our thoughts allows us to handle difficulties with greater resilience, as we're no longer overwhelmed by self-imposed limitations or discouraging mental chatter. Moreover, embracing that we are not our thoughts enables us to see the possibilities for growth and change within ourselves. When we identify too closely with our thoughts, especially recurring ones, we may unconsciously adopt a fixed mindset, believing that we are limited to the patterns that have always defined us. But when we view thoughts as transient, we realize that we are far more than any one belief or habit of mind. This realization fosters a growth-oriented mindset, empowering us to change, learn, and redefine our self-image over time. Finally, understanding that we are not our thoughts helps us connect more deeply with our core self, the part of us that exists beyond passing emotions, judgments, or worries. This core self is steady and resilient, untouched by the ups and downs of daily life. By identifying with this deeper part of ourselves, rather than with every thought that crosses our mind, we gain a sense of inner stability and peace that can weather any storm. This perspective allows us to live with greater authenticity, as our actions are driven not by fleeting thoughts or fears, but by our true values, intentions, and aspirations. Taking the driver's seat in your own mind means choosing to actively direct your thoughts, beliefs, and actions rather than letting life's circumstances or fleeting emotions dictate your path. It's a commitment to becoming the leader of your own internal world, recognizing that while you may not control every thought that arises, you do have the power to decide how to respond to them and which thoughts to give attention and energy. In essence, it's the process of transforming from a passive passenger, swayed by the whims of fear, doubt, or external influence, into a purposeful, empowered individual who steers their life with clarity and intention. When we're in the driver's seat, we are no longer at the mercy of reactive patterns that can dominate our thoughts and behaviors. Many of us go through life in a reactive state, allowing every minor frustration, external opinion, or self-doubt to derail our focus and shape our sense of self. By taking control, we shift from reacting to responding, which is a more conscious and thoughtful approach. This shift requires awareness and a willingness to break free from automatic behaviors that don't serve us, but the reward is greater freedom and the ability to pursue what genuinely matters. To take the driver's seat in our minds, we must first clarify our destination, our purpose, values, and vision for the life we want to create. Without this clear sense of direction, we're like a driver without a map, susceptible to every detour or distraction that appears along the way. Setting intentions for ourselves helps guide our focus and serves as a reminder of where we want to go, even when we encounter obstacles or difficult emotions. For instance, if our destination is to cultivate a fulfilling career, we can use that goal as our compass, aligning our thoughts and actions to support that journey. This intentionality makes it easier to brush off unhelpful doubts or criticisms and stay committed to the path we've chosen. Taking the wheel also means recognizing and redirecting self-limiting beliefs. Our minds are often cluttered with old narrative stories we've told ourselves about who we are and what we're capable of. Some of these narratives were shaped by past experiences or external influences, and without careful examination, they can keep us stuck. By taking the driver's seat, we begin to question these narratives, challenging the beliefs that no longer serve us. For example, if we've been telling ourselves, "I'm not good with people," we can examine this belief, ask where it came from, and consciously choose to act in ways that contradict it. Over time, these small shifts accumulate, and we find that our self-perception becomes more aligned with our true potential. This active role in our minds extends to managing emotions as well. Emotions are powerful forces that can cloud judgment and steer us off course if left unchecked. Taking control doesn't mean suppressing emotions instead. It's about acknowledging them, understanding their source, and deciding how to respond rather than allowing them to dictate our actions. When anger, frustration, or fear arises, we can pause, observe the emotion without immediate reaction, and consider a response that aligns with our long-term goals rather than a knee-jerk reaction. This practice strengthens emotional intelligence, allowing us to handle life's challenges with resilience and composure. Being in control of our minds also involves developing mental discipline through habits that reinforce focus and resilience. Habits like meditation, journaling, or goal setting create a foundation of clarity and intention, allowing us to stay centered and prevent mental drift. These practices keep us anchored in our purpose, providing tools to refocus when we get sidetracked by negativity, external pressures, or self-doubt. Discipline in our thinking is much like discipline in physical fitness. It's the practice of training our minds to focus, persevere, and respond rather than react. Taking the driver's seat requires accountability to ourselves. As the ones in control, we acknowledge that our choices, actions, and mindset are within our power. It's easy to blame circumstances or others for where we are in life, but true control means owning our role and shaping our journey. We take responsibility for our growth, learning from mistakes rather than avoiding them, and viewing challenges as opportunities to strengthen our resolve and capabilities. In the driver's seat, we also give ourselves permission to make adjustments and course corrections along the way. No journey is perfectly linear. We might find that some goals or beliefs evolve over time, and we need the flexibility to adapt. Rather than seeing change as failure, we recognize it as growth, making adjustments in response to new insights or shifting priorities. This mindset keeps us moving forward, adaptable and open to the possibilities that align with our evolving vision for ourselves. Ultimately, taking control of our minds means stepping fully into our potential, understanding that our thoughts are tools and we are the ones who wield them. It's a journey of self-mastery where we gain confidence, resilience, and a sense of purpose that guides us through life. When we're in control, we're not just moving through life aimlessly, we're actively creating, responding, and growing in ways that lead us toward the person we want to become.